This time I have to lighten an old fence that's dark and discolored. My homeowners association, this is the fence by the way. They said, hey, your fence needs some attention. Either replace the fence, yeah right, that's not going to happen, or restore it or something. And they showed me a picture and I'm like, okay, it's a fence. It looks like every other fence I've ever owned. And she said, oh, look at the bottom. The bottom's discolored. So I'm like, oh geez. I found out with oxalic acid I am going to be able to take this back to something that looks reasonable. At least that's what I hope happens. So let me take you through all of the idiocy of getting this fence in a way that the homeowners association won't complain about it. Some of these other YouTubers, you know, I watched a bunch of them and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you need a 10% solution. Okay, great. How do I do a 10% solution? You're listing ounces for the oxalic acid and measured of fluid ounces for the water. How do I actually, it ends up the 10% solution you need, you can get that with 1 cup of oxalic acid powder mixed with half a gallon of water. I'm going to use a sprayer to do this. I'm going to have to mix it. I'm going to have some protective gloves and all that, and we'll go through all that as we do it. I bought this off of Amazon. This is oxalic acid in powder form. I think I just got a pound for about $10. Since it's oxalic acid, I'm going to need to be safe with my hands, so I got these. These are some Amazon basics. I think they're rubber and waterproof. This is acid, so I'm going to use these wraparounds to be super safe. I need to mix this, as I said, half a gallon of water to 1 cup of this oxalic acid. So I'm going to measure a half gallon out of this sprayer. It's got nice little marks on it, but then I'm going to pour that into this bucket and mix it in the bucket. Everybody I've read about this says mixing it can be tricky. Let's go ahead and get this done as quickly as it can. There's 1,000 other things I'd rather be doing. Let's get it done. Okay, so this is my fence. There's some debate on whether you need to sand this wood before you apply the oxalic acid. I asked both ChatGPT and Gemini, is it really necessary? Because it's only some YouTubers and bloggers that mention sanding. The opinion of the AIs is the sanding is just not necessary. It does improve it a little bit. I just want to get this within compliance, so I don't really care how it looks. Also, there's some downside to sanding. If you sand it, you'll lose some of the grain, which I couldn't care less about, but that's what happens apparently. So I'm not going to sand it. It's pretty funny. I think it was ChatGPT said, and besides, sanding can take a lot of time and be very resource intensive. Yeah, so that was the big decider for me. Now the other thing that everybody recommends is you test it out on a small spot first. So here on the back, which I do not intend to lighten, I'm only going to lighten the front. Yeah, that's how dedicated I am to making this fence look good. I'm going to pick a spot, probably back in the corner here, just test it on there, make sure it doesn't, I don't know, what is it, burst into flame? I don't know what the problems might be, but I'm going to test it in that one area first. Now I chose a half a gallon because I found out that a gallon of paint can cover about 400 square feet. I figure half gallon is going to be 200 square feet. That's plenty of square footage that'll cover this fence. So that's all I'm going to need. I'll end up using 1 cup of oxalic acid to that half a gallon. Now, everybody tells you to use warm water when you mix it. This is Arizona. I'd be hard pressed to find any water that isn't warm here for my garden hose. So let's go ahead and fill this up and then start mixing the oxalic acid. Go ahead and pour it in here. And now that's where I'm going to be mixing the oxalic acid. At that point, I'll of course want to make sure I put on my safety goggles. Let's do an unboxing with this oxalic acid. I need to measure it out 1 cup. Got my cup, got my gloves. Going to need to put on, as I said, my safety goggles. I just put my gloves on backwards, put on the safety goggles. Yeah, this is pretty nasty stuff. I hear it takes off rust and tannins and all that, so you know, I can't imagine it does a lot of good for the human body. Okay, how do I open this thing? Looks like it comes in a self-sealing case that I can reseal, so that's good. Let me go ahead and open this up. Wow, this feels dangerous. Maybe it's the word acid. Okay, And I can't do this with my gloves on. Okay. Maybe this will help. Don't do this at home. Okay. There we go. There's a moment of high drama. Let's see. Oh, it's white. Okay. I need to pour out a cup of this stuff and hopefully not get it on my skin. That's pretty easy. Okay, I just finished mixing it up and I stirred it using this PVC, which didn't melt or anything, so I think everything went well. Now it's just a matter of pouring from the red bucket into that sprayer. Do a little test spray in a place where it really doesn't show up very much. And I'm going to let it there for about 15 minutes. Dang, I didn't expect to see this. It's only been about 30 seconds. And is that my imagination, or is it already starting to lighten up? Definitely not my imagination. It's been about maybe 6 minutes, and I can definitely tell. They're definitely showing some improvement. They look a little, well, they just look less weather beaten. I think this is going to work maybe. This is the result after 15 minutes. There's a spot check to make sure that this didn't do any damage. I think this is a success. Okay, here we go. Now this is oxalic acid is good for rust as well, so I'm going to spray the metal as well. This positively absolutely sucks. I just did the left side and waited 30 minutes with the oxalic acid. I don't know, I can't tell much difference at all. At the bottom I don't see any improvement at all. And that's really confusing because all the videos, this oxalic acid just cut through this stuff like crazy. People's results were fantastic. I think the problem is, here I am standing in 94-degree heat in the sunshine in Arizona. This stuff, I squirted on there, and 5 minutes later, it's completely dried up. So I'm going to resort now to using my pressure washer. Let's see if maybe the oxalic acid loosened things up and I can now wash it off. And then if that doesn't work, I'm just going to try squirting it with oxalic acid and then following it with a pressure washer while it's still wet, and see if that does anything. I see the rust is gone off the top, but that's about it. In a turn of events I certainly wasn't expecting. Look what happens when I hit this with the pressure washer. You can see as I use the pressure washer, it is coming off. So here's what happens when I hit this. Yeah, can you see? It seems to have gotten a lot of the muck off. Let's try this. This has not been treated with the oxalic acid. Boy, do I feel like an idiot. Could I have done all this just with the pressure washer? Let's see what happens when we hit this whole thing with the pressure washer, let it dry out, and then I'll hit this whole thing with the pressure washer and see if the oxalic acid has done anything at all. So here are my results. On the left are the wood that I treated with the oxalic acid and then hit with the pressure washer. And on the right is the one that I just hit with the pressure washer without the oxalic acid. It seems to have done a little good to have treated it with oxalic acid because the pressure washer alone doesn't seem to have done much. I think I'm going to do both sides with the pressure washer first and then hit it with the oxalic acid. It seems like that would be a better plan. Get more of that tannins and the rust stains out. Here's the big finish. Wow. I don't even know if I need to hit it with the pressure washer. Look at this. I just sprayed The second part of this that had been sprayed only with the pressure washer, I just sprayed it with oxalic acid, and without rinsing it off, it's just changed color. I can't understand that. I don't understand how it worked like that. So to summarize, the slats over on the left side, they appear to have been more successful than the ones on the right. So the ones on the right, well, the ones again, I used oxalic acid to clean them after I had first washed them down with a pressure washer, and I only used the oxalic acid once. This over here, I used the oxalic acid first and then used the pressure washer 30 minutes later, and then I went over them again with oxalic acid, and it looks like, you know, I think the difference may be because I went over them a second time with oxalic acid. So I do have a little bit left over. I think I'll go ahead and hit this last one again, and hopefully comparing before and after, the homeowners association will get off my back about this fence, and that was the goal all along. I have a feeling I'll be gone long before this fence has a problem with the homeowners association again. Well, it's 1.5 years later, and here's what the fence looks like. The wood seems to have not reverted back, which I'm very, very happy to report. Still looks great. Discoloration's gone. The rust has not come back yet, so I'm happy. The homeowners association has not been bugging me, so mission accomplished. Good luck with your project.